Big day
Hello,
today because I think it comes out in LA today, right?
LA and Seattle and Toronto. Yes, big day.
Yes, and I mean in Canada too. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's quite surreal. It's very, very interesting and like exciting to release the film now, like almost nationwide. And I mean, it's not nationwide yet, but next week it will be. So it's very exhilarating.
Well, it's a very exciting to watch your film. I was just telling Nina that it threw me off. That I did not anticipate that twist. I did not anticipate that ending. Um, Congratulations, because this is your first full featured length film
Thank
after
you.
a couple of shorts. So very impressive.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now I understand that this film, you mentioned that it's a heartbroken love letter to your homeland. Can you please tell me about that?
Uh, yeah, I mean it is because I think I wrote that, in my statement, way like a couple of weeks before we were actually supposed to put the film out, and at that point I had no idea what the response was going to be anywhere in the world. I just knew that we had made a film that we, not just myself but a lot of the actors, the crew people, we invested so much of ourselves and so much of our actual experiences into the film, whilst talking about desire and patriarchy, and talking about the sort of stifling relationship that we had with the place that we call home, and that doesn't negate the fact that that is our home still, no matter the issues that we may have with it, and so unfortunately, I think where we come from, there's not a big cinema tradition. So anytime a film is slightly uh, honest, or sometimes a bit too honest, like this one, I think people kind of respond to it in a personal way. Some people kind of take offense to it. For me, I think, and I knew that at some point that will happen, but I wanted to almost write that as a reminder to myself to not judge myself at any point as the reactions were about to come in, to be like, no, we made this film with as much honesty and as much love as we had for the place that we come from, for our city, for our families, and yet, that doesn't sort of mean that we don't have the right to speak our truth. Yeah.
Also mentioned that Joyland is entirely fictional yet emotionally autobiographical story.
Yeah, I mean, when I said, because I knew that I would started giving interviews, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, so is this film personal?" And I'm like, "Yes, it's very personal." And but then they're like, "Oh, like, personal in what sense? Is this your family?" I'm like, "No, this is not my family. My family is different in many ways. I have not gotten a job at a dance theater as a background dancer. I've not had the experience of falling in love with a trans girl." But having said that, there is an emotional truth to all of these characters, which is very easy to relate to for me, and which I invested a lot of myself in, a lot of my friends and my family members, and their experiences have sort of informed the making of the film in a certain way, because uh, sort of fighting with patriarchy when it comes to your personal desires, and sort of having that confusion within you as to whether you belong or not, and what way are you going to choose to belong to a space which doesn't seem to have space for you, because of what you are and because of what you want your life to look like. That's a very familiar feeling for me. That's a very familiar feeling to a lot of people who've grown up in patriarchal societies, and the whole world, unfortunately, I think is pretty much still a patriarchal society. I don't think the West is as different from Pakistan as it would like to believe that it is, and in that sense, yeah, the film has many moments of truth, not just in relation to Haider's character, but also Mumtaz or Luchi or Biba. Any of the women in the film have sort of a sisterhood relationship with me in a certain way, because I understand these sort of daily decisions that you have to make, to sometimes pick the side of you that the society wants to see, and sometimes pick the side of you that is actually the true side. And those decisions are, not alien to, I think, anybody in the world.
Now, please tell me no goats were injured.
No goats were injured. No, it's a fake goat. No goats were injured. No, not on our set for sure. Otherwise, I'm sure around the world goats are being injured day in and day out, and we're consuming them. But on our set, no.
What made you open the film with a scene like that? Because when I was watching the film and I was like, oh my gosh, I was about to have dinner when I was watching the film. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna hold off on that.
Are you not a meat eater at all? You're vegetarian?
No, I do eat meat, but I
Okay.
always wanted a goat as a pet.
Yeah, they're insanely cute. I think goats are. Why did I want to open the film with that scene? I think because it's a customary thing, and that's it's part it's a ritualistic thing that and often in rituals, I think what comes to the fore is your designated roles that every person is supposed to play in keeping that tradition alive or in carrying that ritual out. And in this particular ritual, that role kind of uh, was going to fall onto our lead character, who was Heather. And it was interesting to me to sort of put him in that position and to understand everybody's role just by virtue of that ritual, to understand who is meant to do what and who's incapable or unable to do that, and then who's going to step up and do something that they're not supposed to do. And suddenly how the ritual, the piety of the ritual is somehow uh, messed with because a woman ended up doing it instead of a man. And so for me, those things was so it was 2 3 minute scene that kind of gave you a great sense of who these people were and what to expect from them. I think it kind of sets up a character like Mumtaz also very well because of her sort of ease with doing something that her husband finds so difficult to do, despite her being a woman and him being a man. He somehow has that kind of sensitivity to him, which he's unable to do, and she just looks at it as a task, and then she does it. She has that sort of inclination towards violence, which you kind of makes sense towards the later half of the film as well with her character. So it did a lot of things I think early on for the story. So that's why
So, speaking of her character of Mumtaz,
Mumtaz.
I was pretty impressed on the shots when it comes to her, kind of when she has that moment of her life sinking in of what her life is gonna be, as she's expecting now and all the celebration and she's just at the silence, just taking it in. Can you talk about filming those scenes?
Yeah, I mean, Rasti, I can't talk about filming those scenes without talking about what an incredibly talented actress she is, and what a joy it has been to work with her. I think we both were such fans of the character. I think we loved this character so much. And I think everybody on set, even actors who were playing other characters, they were like, "This is our favorite character. This is our girl." And unfortunately, because of where her arc was going to lead her, these scenes were very heavy to shoot because we didn't want to let her go. Even though that was what was written, but we really didn't want to shoot those scenes on that front. But kudos to her because she brought so much sensitivity and so much empathy for that particular character, and so much lack of judgment. This she didn't play her like a victim, even though those scenes could very well go into that territory. But she really sort of understood her, went deep into her psyche in a certain way, which I think uh, is remarkable for somebody who's doing her first film. This is her first film as an actress. Um, and to play this part and to play those scenes and for me also, I think taking cue from her, and vice versa, to not have a judgment towards such a big act that she was going to do, and to sort of understand where she's coming from, and to yet not look at her as a victim, but look at her decision and her character as someone with a lot of grace and dignity and frankly courage. Even if that's not the most palatable decision that she takes.
Another character, Alina Khan, who's from I wasn't familiar, but I looked into it, and I believe this is what her first transgender lead role in a major Pakistani film.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. A big role that you gave.
Yeah, I mean, she's very worthy of it. Also, Alina started working with, she was not an actress. I mean, there are no trans actors to begin with in the country, and there weren't, I mean, before Joyland. Um, and she did a short with me where she was completely not an actor at all. And then, I think she sort of dipped her toes into the murky waters of cinema and quite liked it. And then it was good for me because I was writing this feature at that point in time. So she was actually the first person to be cast for this film. And she brings a certain level of authenticity and a certain level of detail and truth to her character, which I don't think another actor who might be great but isn't trans would be able to bring. I think, and also just like again, such a pleasure to work with.
Why the title Joyland?
I think I like the idea of the title sort of meaning different things to different people, and for people to be a little confused sometimes about why is this film called Joyland, and to make your own interpretation of it. Whether it is, you might interpret it as something sarcastic, or you might interpret it as something that's just pragmatic, because there is a scene that's set in Joyland where. But for me, I think there were many reasons, and there was not one reason that was more true than the other. Of course, the one time that you actually go to the theme park, which is a real theme park called Joyland in my city. The one time and the first time that you go there is when Muchi and Mumtaz are actually on that roller coaster, and it's such a pure, truthful moment of unadulterated joy for these women that they're unable to find, anywhere else. And it's that camaraderie and that friendship and that sort of release that really, I think, is something that not just they but every other character in the film is seeking in a certain way. And I think so for me, it was kind of an homage to her character in a certain way, because of what was going to happen. But also, I think something that kind of joins all of these characters is their quest for a place where their desires are not taboo, or something that they can actually act upon, a place of joy. So what they're seeking is really that Joyland, and some find it and some don't in some ways.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Again, congratulations on your LA
Thank
release
you.
today and some locations in Canada. Huge.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
Take care. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.